hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of the wetlands as most recently amended. The notice of the time and place of this hearing was published in the Advocate on September 30 of 2021. It's also posted in the town clerk's office. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. State ethics laws require that I let you know that this is being broadcast live and will also be shown at a later date. Just so you know, these are all members of the Conservation Commission. That's our agent Pat Hannon and senior clerk Joanne Miller. And first item, minutes for approval from the September 22nd, 2021 meeting. So Joanne has sent those around. Most folks have had a chance to look. I'll entertain a motion to accept as presented.
Motion to accept as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. Meeting mail, the MACC Virtual Fall Conference. So Pat and Joanna placed in front of us this document regarding the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions Virtual Fall Conference happening next week and Saturday. So if you're interested, this will run this through either Pat or Joanne and get signed up. And this is one of the things we pay for with CO NOI money. So if you're interested, sign up. I think everybody's all done with fundamentals, right? No, you're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there almost.
Okay, on to new business. I need a motion to open this public hearing.
Make a motion, we open the public hearings.
Do I have a second?
Second.
In favor? So this is an NOI for Ray White, 211 Middle Road. Does not have a file number yet, so we cannot vote on this. And before I read this description here, I know many of you might be here for this, so let me explain what this is not. There are no, so all that's going to happen is on the existing plot of land where the bumper boats had been, there are no new homes being proposed. So if you're concerned about that, that's not part of what's happening here. And that's not going to be the focus of the hearing either. So just so you know what to expect and what not to expect. So notice of intent was filed by Ray White for property located at 211 Middle Road, map 23, lots 29, 29A, and 29B. The applicant proposes construction of two 7,200 square foot self-storage buildings and a 3,200 square foot commercial building with associated parking lot, grading, drainage, utilities, and landscaping within 100 feet of a bordering vegetated wetland. The applicant is represented by Niall Zager of Zenith Consulting Engineers, LLC. Plan name is Site Plan for 211 Middle Road, Acushnet, Massachusetts, dated December 17th of 2020. And I just one other point, just so you understand how this process works, because we don't have a file number for DEP, we cannot vote on this tonight, but we can certainly accept a presentation from Zenith, and we will have to table after that is done to be able to vote on this at the next meeting. But this is certainly a good way for us to get these plans out in the open now. So, Mr. Zager, if you would.
Good evening, for the record, Niall Zager from Zenith. Where would you like me to set up the plans?
You have any-
There's an easel here, I just didn't know if there was a good spot for me to...
I would say,
Voting just
yeah,
about.
and turn that microphone, because the cameras behind us will pick up on it. And then hopefully the folks in the crowd can watch the big screen. That microphone does turn, Niles.
Thank you.
But if you're watching the screen, just get used to the fact that there's about a 7-second delay.
Sorry, just trying to get myself situated here.
Need something to hold.
And that heater can move too if you need to, whatever that thing is on the floor.
Yeah,
Yeah, purified.
That's why we helped you.
Oh, that's okay, I got it. Okay, again, for the record, now Zager from Zenith. So the property, as you are well aware, is at 211 Middle Road. It's map 23, lot 29, 29A, and 29B. It's bordered by Middle Road, Nye Lane, and it has the town of New Bedford, I'm sorry, the town of Acushnet and New Bedford city line at the rear of the property. The property has no flood zone associated with it. It's not within any endangered species natural heritage. It's not within an area of critical environmental concern. No zone 2s, things like that. Or outstanding resource, no outstanding resource waters. So there's really, other than there is a BVW on the property which was flagged, which is on the plans, flags A1 through A17, which I believe the commission saw when they were on the site visit on Saturday. And that then ultimately goes into the existing pond that is located, that's located at the front of the property on Middle Road. Those flags that were hung by a professional wetland scientist that we hired, and they were field located by our office and depicted on the plan as shown. So basically what this proposal is we're proposing to remove the existing adventure park, bumper boats, things of that nature, the golf court, the miniature golf and all that good stuff. And what Mr. White would like to do is to try to reutilize it because it hasn't been in use for a while. And he would like to construct 3 different buildings. What I'll do is flip this over again. So the blue that I have highlighted here, that's the existing pond there. The blue here is the 100-foot buffer from the bordering vegetated wetland and the pond. So anything here over is all within your jurisdiction, all completely within the buffer zone. So what we have is we have a 40 by 80 commercial building up in the front, and we have 2 30 by 240 foot long storage buildings located in the rear. It's, like I said, and like you said at the beginning, it's gonna all be located within that existing area. There's nothing going back in the field. It's all gonna be uptight as far as close as it can be to Middle Road. There's no, it's all good. What this is considered as a redevelopment project. So there's an existing impervious coverage there now. This is a true redevelopment project where we're taking something from its, already developed state and just redeveloping it into something more usable, more current. So all the drainage,
Miles?
yes,
Miles, before you do that, would you hold it up just so the folks back there can see it?
I absolutely
So they
can.
have a sense of what's what.
I absolutely can. So here's Middle Road here.
Yep.
All right, this is the existing building here, parking lot. This is the pond, and then this is the access out to the back off of Middle Road. This is the existing, like I call it cow pond, but this is the pond. And this is where the adventure park existing is. This this blue line that you see here is 100 feet from the pond. So this is what the commission has jurisdiction over. That's why we're here now. What we're doing is we're proposing a 40 by 80 building, retail building, and then we're proposing 2 30 by 240 foot long storage buildings. And then there's associated, and I'm gonna go through that next, but there's associated pavement with parking and access and drainage that goes along with that. So that's what I'm gonna get into next, but this kind of just gives you a brief overview of what's there.
Drive?
I'm sorry, what?
Where's the drive?
It's way up.
No.
Not even
This
close.
is down, this is down where the sign is, you know where the sign, it's right there with that big white.
This isn't even close to the New Bedford line. This is literally up on the Middle Road side.
Yeah.
So actually, let me see if I can, here's an overview of the property. So this dark line here, this is New Bedford line here. Okay, so that's Rhonda Drive here, that runs parallel. Our project is here.
Okay.
So this is up by the existing buildings.
Is there gonna be only one entrance?
From the Middle Road? You're not gonna have anything back from the New Bedford Road going into there?
And
Then everything's gonna be
No.
pushing with access.
folks, for the record, if you are gonna ask a question, we need to have your name, so if you
I'm
would.
Mary Ann Barboza, 1028 Rhonda Drive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so this square here is literally our limit of work. This is our limit of work. There's nothing going on here at all as far as this project goes. Yeah, yeah. So,
Thank
you're welcome. So, yeah, so I'll that just kind of gives you an overview of so again, this is Nye Lane here as well. So you can see how far away it is even just from there. So that should just give you somewhat of an overview of what you're looking at and where we're at in perspective to your properties. So, going into the drainage, which is kind of really the most important part. Not with the full. Everything that we're doing drainage-wise has to conform with stormwater management to the maximum extent practical because it is a redevelopment project. So what we've done is we've proposed deep sump hooded catch basins along with drain manholes that conveys all the stormwater that's being produced by this project, and then it's ultimately being discharged either into the existing pond or it's being discharged into an additional detention basin that we've proposed as well. We did a full analysis because there's a significant watershed that comes off of this property and even from the New Bedford side of water that comes down and comes into this property. So what we did was we did a full analysis, drainage analysis of that, because we have to ensure that when we're doing this that we're not going to affect any of the downstream abutters or the abutting properties. So what you see here is we've gone through a full analysis and everything will handle up to a 100-year storm event, which is required by DEP stormwater management. So that basically you have this basin, this pond here, that overtops, goes into this proposed basin here. There's also another little water quality swale here up in the front that we're using to capture the water before it gets out in the middle road. We have to ensure that there's nothing that can get out to middle road. So what we did was we proposed a trench drain or a trench grate right at the almost at the intersection or right at the at the intersection of Middle Road and our access way, and that discharges into this water quality swale, and then that overtops into, there's an existing kind of called a concrete vault that was already there, that's been being used for years and years that I'm sure Mr. White knows about a lot better than I do, but it's actually pretty impressive, and it's a huge concrete vault that has culverts and what have you that were constructed, and that's what was being used to control. So what we had to do is we had to make sure that our flow what was going in there in the existing condition wasn't going to increase in the proposed condition. So that's what we've done, and we provided that documentation in form of a drainage report to the commission.
Another question, so you have that new drainage basin, that if need be will also overtop into the one that's gonna be parallel with Middle Road, correct?
So this actually overtops into the vault.
It does.
And this overtops into the vault as well. So this is capturing most of the water coming just from the front that we couldn't get over to here because of elevation.
Mhm.
So this is just acting as a kind of like another water quality feature.
Okay.
And then that will overtop, if that does overtop, will overtop into the that concrete vault. And then same thing with the proposed basin that we have here. They will all overtop into that concrete vault. So that's kind of a summary of what we have for drainage. This is the landscaping. We're just showing some, I'm not gonna go too crazy with this, but this is just showing the screening that we're proposing, especially up along Middle Road to ensure it meet some of the requirements that from zoning that need to be met. And we are proposing some here. It is gonna be completely fenced in because it is a storage facility, so we wanna make sure it's protected. So that's that. And there's some details on the shrubbery and call out of a legend of a planting schedule, things of that nature. This is kind of more the meat and potatoes of what the commission's going to be looking for during construction. So this is our erosion control plan. So this is really important to ensure that there's not going to be any issues during construction, or if there are, the commission has ways to go to the contractor and say, hey, you know, you're not meeting this requirement, you're not meeting this plan, we've got to do something about it, and we have measures taken place in here to ensure that that can happen. So what we've done here is we've encompassed the entire limit of work, proposed limit of work, with silt fence and silt fence and silt sock. So there's that. We've proposed a construction entrance where the proposed entrance is. So that's just like a riprap pad for when the trucks go in and out, to ensure that they, you know, when the dirt gets on their tires, it knocks the dirt off. Doesn't really necessarily go into middle road. If it does go in the middle road, there's sweeping requirements that need to be met every day, that the contractor needs to go out and clean it up. But these work really well, especially on fairly larger projects, things of that nature. This other square here is a stockpile area that we're keeping it outside the 100-foot buffer zone. So during construction, obviously, there's going to be material that's going to need to be piled. So there's a designated area there. We just want to make sure that it's not going to be stockpiled, you know, near or in the wetland. Obviously, we want to protect that. So we're trying to show them that they have area to designate it, to put it somewhere else. We also have a proposed dewatering basin. It is, as everybody knows, a very wet site, very wet area. So it's most likely that water is going to be encountered during construction. So we have a dewatering basin in place with a detail showing what to do, how to pump that water out if it is encountered. Lastly, as far as erosion control goes, all the catch basins will have silt sacks put in them during construction. What those do is they're just basically like a tarp, or like a canvas that gets put underneath the grate, and instead of that silt getting flowing and getting into the pond and into the basin, it will get collected there, and then as necessary it gets pulled out, cleaned up, and put right back in place during construction. Because obviously the idea is that post-construction those won't be there because everything's stabilized, pavement is established, loam and seed have been established, and we now have a good lawn, and we don't hopefully have any erosion at that point. So just during construction, that would be something that we'd be utilizing. What else? And basically all the areas that aren't improved by either building or pavement will be loamed and seeded to ensure that there is proper stabilization. So as far as conservation goes, I think I kind of just wanted to give a brief overview, and be happy to answer any questions that the commission or the public have.
You mentioned, so you got your stockpile area outside the buffer zone. In terms of overnight vehicle storage, will there be construction vehicles there overnight, and where are you going to keep them?
Oh, I mean, yes, they will most likely have to be. They would definitely have to be kept outside of it. We put that there as well. This is a kind of a concrete washout area. Vehicles could be parked on the existing pavement that's out there. A lot of this area, I'm sure if you've driven by, there's a lot of this area that's just not being used. So we're actually utilizing some of that area there for parking in the facility. They could easily park that on the pavement outside, completely outside.
Anybody in the commission with questions, or Pat?
I've got a few ones you guys have done. You good?
I'm all set.
Hazardous material storage inside the storage buildings. There need to be some kind of prohibition because you're in the buffer zone in most of these storage buildings. So there need to be some kind of prohibition on that.
Yeah, I think that's usually something that goes with when you sign up. I've dealt a lot with these storage facilities.
Yeah.
And typically that's something in part of the lease or the agreement contract that's signed by the person renting and the owner.
So I'd recommend to the commission that be a special condition
Certainly.
in the NOI.
Absolutely.
And then the silt sock, is it a silt sock or a straw wattle?
Whatever the commission would like, I guess. It's whatever the commit, I mean, typically we do silt sock, but
Yep, so for me, what size silt sock would you be doing?
either 8-inch or, I mean, if you want to do the 12-inch blown in, that.
If you-
The reason why we did this, the 8-inch, proposed 8 inches, because we're proposing the silt fence as well.
Yeah,
So there's added protection there. If it was just going to be the silt sock, then I would recommend going larger.
how would you feel about doing the 12-inch sock, the blown in, and then you wouldn't need the silt fence? And there wouldn't be any earth disturbance through all that area, and it'd be a very easy cleanup at the end of the job.
You okay with that, Ray?
I know the silt sock's a little pricey, but it's gonna save you a lot of other work.
Yep.
And earth disturbance, if you guys are good with that. Because that weighs, what, 40 pounds per foot or something?
Oh, it's heavy. I
Yeah.
mean, you literally
Once-
can't move it by
Once that's on the
hand.
ground, it's on the ground.
And once it gets weighted down with water,
Water.
I mean, it
Yeah.
just, you don't move it. You literally have to move it with a machine.
Yeah.
Yes.
During the construction, no fueling in the buffer zone?
Correct.
Um,
I'm assuming these are all things that'll be part of the conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, will the stormwater basins be fenced in?
That's not a part, well, that's not part of the proposal, I mean, but that's something we can look at. We would rather not do something in the front here, because that's in front of the retail building.
Yep.
And I mean, this is an existing pond now, so, I mean, rather not, but.
It's just a question.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, no, it's, as far as right now, no, it is not fenced in.
okay. The drain at the front driveway, is it a vein drain?
Here?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just a vein.
Yeah, it's a trench grate. It's something that we typically use for like Mass Highway.
And then the silt that you do clean up, where are you gonna put that? Where's that gonna be disposed of? Just so it doesn't wind up back in the system?
Of course, yeah, we would
Take it from the
obviously
bottom
don't
down
want
and put it back at
to.
the
Yeah, I
top.
think that's just, I would like to think that that's just common sense, but, you know, I understand that that's not always the case,
I see a
so.
lot of that non.
Yeah, it would just hopefully be taken off-site or dumped somewhere else out completely outside the buffer.
That's all I have.
Follow up on the fence question. So there's a fence around the entire property because, or at least around the storage area, because it's storage and you want it fenced, and you still have your fence along the driveway going to the back, right?
It's kind of fenced in,
Yeah.
because there's a fence that runs all the way down as far as towards the driving range.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I kept my animals in there for a while, so to keep the vegetation down.
So that would be safe enough. Commission members, questions? Audience members with questions, and if you do, again, identify yourself and please ask. Mr. Wood, any follow-up comments as the owner of the project?
No.
Okay.
I'm just trying to make use of the land. It's just, it's a tax burden, and without some kind of revenue, I'm trying, to big, believe me, I don't want to have to do this, but I don't want to sell the land. So I'm trying to figure out a way to pay the taxes, so I don't have to sell the land. Been there since Mayflower, and I don't plan on selling it.
So, hearing no questions or comments from the crowd or
Can I ask
from...
a question?
Yes, please.
Nancy Soers, I live at 803 Phillips Road.
Thank you.
Okay, so they said they're gonna have a building, is it gonna be the business, it's gonna be there?
In the front?
Yeah,
My daughter has an established hair salon,
okay.
and with a big clientele, and they actually plan on closing where they are and moving over here. And then I have a upholstery fellow that's in front that is looking to probably rent. He's already there on the property. He does antique furniture,
Okay.
and he actually wants the other half, which is 40 by 40. And my daughter's will be 40 by 40. Mm. My daughter would like to see something more busier there, but because it bring in more people. But
Anybody else? All right, as I mentioned, we can't vote on this because we don't have a DEP file number, so I'll entertain a motion to continue to the next meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zaidi.
You guys have a great night.
Yeah,
You too.
Thank you, all of you, and motion to close the hearing?
I make a motion to do
There's a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Now now we're on to a certificate of compliance, and we won't be insulted if you all leave now. We understand you have other things to do. So certificate of compliance for Ryan DeMello, 35 Morses Lane. File number is NESI 001-0419. Applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance for the above address.
Okay.
The NOI expired in 2006 and was unknown to the applicant when he purchased the property. The applicant is selling the property and the COC is needed to close the sale of the property. Mr. DeMello? And, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know I needed any of this. This was just brought to my attention with the closing coming on Friday. So I was just trying to get this problem solved before the closing if possible.
So, Friday.
You guys take the conversation outside, please.
Hey, guys. Guys, we gotta go outside.
So Joanne was off Friday, and Mr. DeMello came in, wanted he needs to close on this deal, needs COC, and there wasn't time to get it. So I amended the agenda. And I went over and took a look. There's been nothing new built there. There's no swimming pools or a second house built in the buffer zone. He had another problem with the Board of Health, that the person before him put a deed restriction on the house. And the Board of Health is actually having an emergency meeting tomorrow morning at 7:30 to help Mr. DeMello sell his house. So I put this on the agenda Friday so that he can get his COC tonight and sell his house.
So it's the same plans as,
Same plans. His lawyer didn't pick up on the fact that there's a COC. He bought it not knowing there was a deed restriction on his
Yeah.
septic system.
None of this was
None of it
brought
was
to
disclosed.
my attention. I didn't know about any of this.
But the new buyer.
The new
had a
buyer,
better
they
lawyer.
got it. Their lawyer found it though.
Yes. And he's in the jail.
okay.
So
And if you have no concerns about the,
none whatsoever.
okay,
Yeah.
that's good. I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 35 Morses Lane.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? That's unanimous.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good luck. Thank you.
Next, discussion agenda, hunting signs on conservation land. I know this can has been kicked down the road for almost a year now.
So we're getting some phone calls in the office that some signs have been taken down.
This is something different.
Wasn't me, I swear. It wasn't me.
They gave you a license plate. And if they don't belong there, the woman has no objection to them not being put back up. But I can't find any information on what the commission's feeling is on hunting on conservation land.
And this certainly came up quite a bit during our Zoom COVID meetings, and I think the consensus is, and if I'm wrong, definitely correct me, that we're okay with it. It's, you know, what hasn't been done is it hasn't been spelled out explicitly on the town's website. Whether it needs to be on our page or wherever, but we're okay with it.
Okay.
It's kind of a public health issue too,
Yeah.
because of Lyme disease,
Yeah.
all these other new deer things that are coming.
So I'll communicate that to the neighbor, and maybe we can get something onto the commission's webpage about hunting on conservation land and a few other things I've picked up off the internet
Okay.
from some other towns.
So who took down the signs? These were residents that took down the signs?
She thinks some hunters took them down because they felt it wasn't supposed to be posted.
Oh, I see.
So they-
Okay.
Right, and it was never posted properly anyways.
Right, the DPW just went down and put signs up because she requested it.
Right.
And it stayed that way for a few years. They used the trail, I guess, for a lot of walking, and it's,
Is this Lantern Lane?
yes,
Yeah. That big yellow sign's gone?
I guess there was 2 signs.
Oh.
So if it is, she's okay with it. She just wanted to know.
Okay.
And the other thing on, was there more on that topic, Pat?
Not on that.
Okay, so next one is legal size file cabinet needed for NOI filings.
Yes, we need to buy another file cabinet. And we'd like to use NOI money to buy that. So,
I'll entertain a motion to do that.
I'll second
No.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, you have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
You got a new file cabinet tonight, too. You're all set.
NOI money for an NOI file cabinet, makes sense to me.
Yep.
Okay, next is stormwater, RFQ for engineering services, or request for,
So this is for peer review. This would be for conservation and for stormwater. We're currently using the peer review engineer that the planning board had set up.
Cole.
And we're getting backed up, beyond a month for an approval for a peer review of
Are
the
we talking
stormwater.
Cole?
Yeah.
So, in other words, they have too much work?
They're actually subbing it out to somebody else.
Okay.
And it's getting a little diluted, and it may have even been sub to a sub in some instances. So I did send that RFQ to you, Bob. I didn't send it to the commission. And I sent it to the town administrator. I haven't heard back from the town administrator at all on it, but I would like to get the commission to authorize us to send that to town council and get it approved to advertise in the newspaper so that we can get some peer review on board.
Sure.
Beals and Thomas supplied that RFQ information for us.
Okay.
It's a standard form
Sure.
that's out there. And we've had a few calls from companies that are interested in providing peer review, so that we'd get 2 or 3 responses, and it wouldn't hurt to have more than one person on board for peer review.
Right.
And we could turn these around in a week
Yeah.
and not have to continue meetings.
Mhm.
We could really speed up the process.
This is peer review that's paid for by the project.
Paid for by the
proponent.
project proponent, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's lots of things we don't have the expertise to really review and
Mhm.
make a good judgment call, so
Yeah,
I'm a fan of peer review.
makes sense to me.
All right.
Do we want to make a motion on that, just so it's official?
If you would, yeah.
Yeah, somebody make that motion?
Make a motion to approve RFQ for engineering services.
In a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Great.
And then we have Mark Francois, SE 001-0567.
Yep. He made the grade.
Oh, is this related to the letter we got from Cole?
Yep, it says that it's satisfactorily addressed on their one question on the stormwater plan. So he's all set. He can get his stormwater permit, and he'll have his last meeting with the planning board next week, and he'll have a project.
Okay.
Yep. And then we have the folks here from,
Yeah, I was gonna say, you must have been happy to see that.
I was, yes.
oh, hi, Mark.
Hi,
I
boy.
didn't see you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you have any other comments or
No, I'm
questions for us
just here
about
to
that.
see if anybody else has any comments or questions.
I saw the town planner today. He was in for a little bit. Sounds like you're all set there too, so.
Awesome, thank you very much. And I appreciate how fast and everything, how smoothly everything went
Nice.
with the commission. I
Appreciate you
it.
coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, next we have Acushnet Company, that's file number SE 001-0568. I see Mr. Matt and Mr. Kelly here. So Pat, what do we need to know about this?
I didn't hear what you said, because it's not on my agenda.
I know, that's,
Acushnet Company.
Right, yeah.
Oh, so there were a couple of comments from SW Cole on Acushnet Company. I actually went out to the site today and met with them there. Their comment on the drainage, that it was kind of flat where the catch basin was going over by that T, where the septic system was going under that T.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to explain it?
Sure.
There really isn't any way for the water to go anywhere but into that drain.
Hi, Bill Madden, GAF, on behalf of the Acushnet Company. Yeah, we met out there this afternoon just to really briefly discuss the Cole letter and talk about another matter. Yeah, there was that one catch basin that's just in a small, low spot, really adjacent to the roadway. It was only put in there to collect a little bit of runoff that pooled during the winter time from basically a maintenance purpose. We established a footprint around it of 50 by 50, I guess, with our calculations, but we just used it as an area. I mean, there's really no slope to the land. There's no impervious surface associated with that contributing area. You know, really, I think if we were to run some calculations on it, I doubt if we would even come up with a number where it generates runoff. So, I mean, there's no slope, there's no impervious, it's all turf. So, you know, that was just one thing that we were looking at when we were out there with respect to the letter. We were hopeful that we would be able to get in touch with somebody from Cole this afternoon, have them make a revision based upon our site meeting. We weren't able to do that. We did make contact, but unfortunately they were tied up with some other things. And, you know, if I just might add, the second item on the letter is it stated that infiltration, leaching infiltration types of systems are not allowed. They refer to the subdivision control regulations, you know, but they didn't refer to your stormwater regulations or your stormwater bylaw. So I think the reference may be a little off. I think the reference really pertains to with the residential use. Planning board's not inclined to approve infiltration basins underground for a residential use. The infiltration basin that we propose is a surface basin. We overflow out of our drainage basin after we clean that water to about 90% removal of TSS and just really deposit it on a stone medium, and that infiltrates into the ground. So in our view, it wasn't really applicable to it, but you know, we wanted to give Cole the opportunity to, you know, clean up their letter and give us a clean bill of health on that. The third item was the bond, which we talked about previously at the last meeting. We understood that the commission is inclined to require that, so we don't really have anything to add with respect to that, other than we just needed to clean up that one issue with the review. So, you know, I know that you probably are inclined to ensure that everybody signs off on things. You know, we're happy to wait on it if that's the desire of the commission. We have no issue with that. We just wanted to bring up where we were. Like I said, we were anticipating. We're hopeful that we'd have a letter tonight to clean it up, but unfortunately that wasn't the case.
So
So it's just an update more than anything.
All right, so item number one relates to that drain.
Yes.
That was the one that you want to put underneath the T?
No, it relates to the existing catch basin that's on the side of the fairway. And it was piped directly into the wetland. You might recall, we saw that pipe that was all the way into the wetland.
Mhm.
What we have done is just put it into our drainage basin, cut it off at that location,
Yeah.
put it into our drain basin,
okay.
giving it some treatment. So there really isn't any substantial flow associated. It's not new, it was existing.
I see. Pat, any other questions or comments from Mr.
Yeah, and the other reason I went out was, Mr. Kelly called about cutting down some trees to take some shade off of the fairway. They're having trouble growing grass at the end of the fairway by the guard shack. So I met with them this afternoon, and it's nothing jurisdictional, but they wanted to be sure.
Okay.
So I'll let Bill explain it.
Yeah, I just have a sketch. I'll pass it out to y'all, and hopefully I have enough. You want to pass this?
Yeah.
We can share. We still got one.
Let's see, I guess down at what end of that fairway is gonna be? It's gonna be the southerly end of the test fairway. There's there's fence, you'll see there's a heavy dark line with a wetland flag line out there. We determined that it was an isolated vegetated wetland. Our wetlands botanist went out there, flagged it, and we determined it was an isolated vegetated wetland, non-jurisdictional under the Wetlands Protection Act, and absent of a local wetland bylaw wouldn't be jurisdictional in any respect, at least in our view. What we would like to do is remove the vegetation, trees in the overstory within that area so that we can improve the growing conditions for the turf on that fairway. It's shaded this time of the year, it's kind of damp and moist, and it certainly isn't the same caliber as the turf as the rest of that test fairway is. So we were looking at it, we determined in our minds that it was non-jurisdictional, but we felt that we would want to talk to the commission about that to see if they would like us to file at least a determination of applicability or a request for a determination of non-significance here, just to have a piece of paper in the file that everyone or anyone could reflect back onto and said, make a determination at least something was presented to the commission. So what we'd like to do is just cut down the trees, not disturb any of the root system on it, so they'll really be flush cut with the ground, mow the understory, and just really improve the overall growing characteristics of that area, improving sunlight, improving circulation of wind and air around that area, prevent any more moss, and really enhance the growing conditions. You know, it's really similar to what you're allowed to do on a cranberry bog, is cut within that 100 feet of a cranberry bog, not clear cut that we're proposing here, but it's roughly 5,000 feet. Like with an agricultural project, it'd be significantly more area. But the purpose is still the same, to improve the growing conditions over there in an area that's really a non-jurisdictional area. So we just would like to get some feedback from the commission, what you might like to see from us on that.
What do you think?
I think that he's right.
Yeah.
We walked the whole thing
Mhm.
today, and I think it would be as simple as authorizing the commission to send a letter to them, that they
Mhm.
came before us. We did a site, the agent did a site visit,
Yep.
and it's non-jurisdictional. Yeah. They're perfectionists
Yeah.
when it comes to their facility there, and this is like the last part of the end of their fairway. It doesn't look as good as the rest.
Mhm.
And I really don't see any harm in doing it.
Non-jurisdictional, let's
Yeah.
put that in the letter, so we do have that piece of
Yeah.
paper as you referenced.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, you can keep this plan for your file too, for that matter, and, you know, whatever else you might need from us, we're happy to provide.
We'll put it in the NOI file.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
best place to
that'll
keep
work.
it.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Yeah.
Do you wanna have a motion so it's official?
Make a motion that we enter or send a letter of permission to Acushnet Company for clearing of the trees at the test facility as presented to us tonight in this map.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Very good. Thanks very much for your time. It's always a pleasure.
Thank
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Yeah, good night.
Thank you.
And you'll stay in touch with them regarding this getting cleaned up?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, next, agent updates. Over to you.
So I have a little bit of a list tonight. I've been talking about Dropbox. We have new computers, and we're prevented from putting anything on our computers. We need tech support for the town to do all of that. So we're kind of at an impasse. Joanne's not able to use her new computer. The install has not been finished. I know school's back in session, and they're probably busier than a pony at a birthday party, but we need to do business. So maybe you could send an email to somebody as the chairman asking that this gets corrected.
So your new computer hasn't been installed?
It's not fully installed.
And what about yours?
I can't scan any documents on my computer. I don't have Dropbox. There's a few other, I wanted to put Adobe editor on my computer
For PDFs.
so I can change PDFs and do
Yeah.
things. I can't do that. I basically wind up having to go home and do stuff on my computer. And I have an Adobe subscription, but I can't put it on the computer. We're locked out of adding anything to those computers. PJ Keating has started the relocation of the silt pile out of the buffer zone. I'm gonna go tomorrow and do an inspection of how that's moving along. As you know, Merrily was involved with the Buzzards Bay Action Committee, and I've stepped into that role with the Buzzards Bay Action Committee, and we're hosting their Zoom meetings. So that stayed in place. And then I was contacted by the Buzzards Bay Coalition, not to confuse the two, about renewing a conservation grant for Trips Mill. There was like a $15,000 grant that needed to be renewed, so that paperwork did come, and the town administrator asked me to sign it. So I'm gonna do that. And then I want to know how the commission feels about administrative approvals. When I served on the commission where I lived, we allowed our agent to issue some limited administrative approvals for cutting down a tree, putting in a utility pole and having to cut a tree down or something like that. And even something as simple as, Mr. DeMello's COC, and saving the commission from having to have a site visit and do all of those things. I'm here all day, I have the time to do those. As long as it doesn't involve turning notices of intent into, RDAs, it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, there were times when I'd get an email from Merrily asking me similar situations.
Yeah.
And I would say,
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
And then, back in maybe even the end of 2020, the planning board acting as the stormwater board approved an updated stormwater regulation. But I missed advertising it in the newspaper. I wasn't aware that regulation needed to be advertised in the newspaper to become effective. And we'd like that to become effective. And I'd like to get permission for Joanne to run that ad for that stormwater regulation.
Now, does that ad just have to be run once, or does it go out every time?
No, just one time.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's a Reader's Digest version of the regulation, and basically says it's on file at the Conservation Commission if you want to see it.
Okay.
And then that would become effective 60 days after that. And we'd be done with that business.
That would be like an advocate or something like that.
Whatever, what are you using?
I haven't done one for a while, so we would
No,
use
we
the
have to-
advocate.
yeah, it would be an advocate.
If,
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
get prices for that, yeah.
Okay.
I think, does that have to be 2 consecutive weeks or
No,
something
just
like
once.
that? Oh, just once? Okay.
Yeah, it's not a public hearing, it's a regulation, so.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay. So in terms of nudging the appropriate person or persons to get your store installed, and his store installed, would that be town administrator?
I think so.
Okay.
Good.
I can do that.
Shame to spend the money on new computers and not be
Yeah,
able to
right.
utilize them, so.
And usually that's
Yeah.
just all at once. I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
not in phases.
Yeah. And I'll do a quick note of clarification about Buzzards Bay Project, Buzzards Bay Action Committee, and Buzzards Bay Coalition. I know this because I worked for the coalition for 8.5 years. So when the Buzzards Bay Comprehensive Conservation and Management Plan was approved, 3 entities were formed. One was municipal, one was federal, and one was non-profit. So the non-profit part of it is the Buzzards Bay Coalition, which was originally the Coalition for Buzzards Bay. Buzzards Bay Action Committee is a member, is like one representative from each town within the watershed that meets periodically to discuss wetlands and watershed-related issues. And the Buzzards Bay Project is funded federally to work on issues about the watershed and coastal, and gets funded, and then also offers grants for that kind of work. So
Yeah.
BBP has their office still in Wareham?
I don't
Last
know.
I knew, it had been along Cranberry Highway there, and BBAC doesn't really, they hadn't had an administrator. Does BBAC still have an administrator or not?
They do. Elizabeth
Leihold.
Leihold.
Oh, it is now, okay.
Yeah, and she actually has an office in town hall,
Okay.
here.
Oh.
She has a small,
Yeah.
I use the word office generously.
Yeah.
She has a small space. And then there's a fellow from DEP Coastal Zone Management on the BBAC, and someone from EPA on there as well.
Right.
And they attend the
Yeah, and
meetings.
Serpent used to have a representative too.
Serpent might be on there.
Periodically, okay.
Yeah. It's worthwhile, it's a good, getting to know everybody that's in the surrounding towns and find common ground and common problems, so it's worthwhile.
And I think the CCMP got passed in 1986 or 87, somewhere around there. And having all these entities in place means this plan doesn't just sit on a shelf, it actually gets used and implemented.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
So there's your history lesson. Anybody else with business for the commission? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 6:50.